Hello everybody, it's Russell Matthews and I'm back with another Canadian benefit update for you. With all of the new information coming down the pipeline about the CRB, the CRSB, the CRCB, and CERB from before, lots of people are gearing up for this new application date on October 12th. You probably already know that Canadians can make up to $1,800 a month on these new benefits. But what a lot of people don't know is how quitting your job or having a change in your employment status could affect your ability to apply. The guidelines around this have been pretty murky in the past, and the fact that we've now transitioned from CERB, or the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, to the CRB, the Canadian Recovery Benefit, and other benefits associated with that, means that there have been even more changes in what you can expect when you have a change in employment status. So today we're going to dive deep to get you the information that you need about how your employment status could affect your ability to receive this money. I've seen a lot of comments and replies to comments on my previous videos, and it seems like a lot of the time people are getting the information wrong. So let's check out the information so we can know for sure what all of this actually means. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, hey, how's it going? It's nice to meet you. My name's Russell and I post videos about personal finance, investing, real estate, and general news that could affect many Canadians. The overall goal of the channel is to get as much high quality information to viewers as possible to set them up to be able to live a better future. If that sounds like something you're interested in, or you just want to stay up to date with all of the constantly changing Canadian benefit information, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'm coming back each and every day with more information about these benefits, so if you want to be 100% up to date, make sure you subscribe. Whenever there's new news or any changes to the program, you're going to be the first one to know about it from me. While you're at it, hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's so incredible how just one click could mean that hundreds of more people who are searching for this information get to see it. With that being said, let's dive in and find out exactly how your employment status or changes in your employment status could affect your ability to receive benefits. As I was saying before, when it comes to your employment, the benefit that we used to be on, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, is definitely different from the new set of benefits. Let's take a look back and find out how your change in employment could have affected your CERB benefits. This is important to think about today and going forward into the future. Thousands and thousands of people have submitted fraudulent applications without even knowing they did it. I just made a video on what the potential penalties could be for doing this, so you're going to want to check this one out. Your change in employment status could have affected whether or not your application was fraudulent or not. So let's find out how exactly this worked. Many of you may know that the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB, was the first benefit that was introduced by the Canadian government that millions of Canadians went on from halfway through March till the end of September. You probably know that now CERB is expired, but you still need to think about your time on CERB. First of all, the money that you got 100% will be taxed at income time. So if you want to know more about that, I'm going to come out with a video pretty soon. So hit the subscribe button and I'll update you when there's information on that. But today we're making sure that you didn't apply fraudulently. For CERB, you could be in one of four broad categories for employment status. You could either be 1, fully employed with no change to your hours or income. 2, you could have a job but have your hours reduced significantly. 3, you could have quit or been let go from your job sometime recently. If you were in category 1 and you didn't have any change to your work schedule, you kept on working straight through the pandemic. There weren't many people like this. But if this was you, you wouldn't be eligible for CERB. I think that's pretty obvious. Section number 2 is more likely for a lot of people. This is if your hours were reduced and you were working less due to COVID. For CERB, the only thing that they use to qualify whether or not this type of person qualifies is the amount of money you made per month. They set a hard cap at $1,000. If you made less than $1,000 that month, you would qualify. If you made more, you would not qualify. If you're in this category and you're self-employed, then it pretty much works the same. Below $1,000, you can apply for CERB. Above $1,000, you can't. One detail to note, though, is that if you're self-employed, you're going to want to take your net income for the month. That means if you have any business expenses, which are just regular things that you need to pay in order to keep operating the business, then you can subtract that from your total amount made and then use that net income as your number to qualify. Category number 3 includes people who were either let go or quit their job voluntarily. There are huge differences in the implications of both of these. If you were let go from your job anytime and you meet all the other criteria, you would have been able to apply for CERB. But, and I think this is where CERB was a little bit too broad, if you quit your job at any time, that would automatically disqualify you from applying for and receiving the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. I think this was a little bit too broad because this means even if you quit your job in January or February, you wouldn't be able to receive this money. That could have left you in a really crummy situation where you were trying to apply for work, but obviously there's the pandemic, less people are hiring, but you quit your job before you even knew that there was going to be a huge pandemic. It doesn't seem the most fair, does it? But those are the rules for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. So if you're somebody who quit their job to go on CERB, I'd be a little bit worried. The fact that you quit means that you didn't qualify. Come income tax time, they could be expecting you to pay that full amount back that you received. Now, luckily, there won't be any additional penalties if you didn't know you didn't qualify. You'll just have to pay back that amount. But still, if you weren't expecting to pay back the potentially 14 grand that you got from CERB, that could be a little bit stressful. Now, luckily, as we transition to the CRB, or the Canada Recovery Benefit, the CRSB, the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, and the CRCB, the Canada Recovery Caregiver Benefit, these rules get a little bit more clear and a little bit more lenient as well. Let's take a closer look at how exactly your employment status could affect the CRB, the CRSB, and the CRCB. To make things simple, we're going to break it down into the same 4 categories. Now, I know these categories are broad and it might not represent your exact situation, so if you have a unique situation, leave a comment down in the comment box. I do my absolute best to get to as many as I can, so if you have something that you might be concerned about, drop it down there and I might be able to answer it for you. Category number 1, and you'll remember this is for people who are working their full-time job, they haven't had any effect to their hours, no loss of income. They would not be eligible for the CRB, but there are benefits that are specifically designed for these people. Now that more and more people are going back to work, the Canadian government recognized, hey, we need to provide benefits for people who have jobs but are in unique situations. That's where the CRCB and the CRSB come in. The CRCB is specifically for these people who need to take time off of their full-time work that they've been able to keep going to take care of a loved one or a family member that needs care due to COVID-19. I think one of the main designs for this was so that if schools need to close, some parents are going to be able to take time off work without fear of not getting any money in order to take care of their kids while they're doing their online learning. The CRSB is also designed for these people. It's essentially a sick leave for up to 2 weeks if you start showing some COVID-like symptoms. Now, this has to be confirmed by a health professional, but it gives you the ability to take that time off work that you need to make sure you're not spreading it to anybody. I think this was a pretty smart inclusion in these benefits if we want to try to curb the overall spread of the virus. So, category number 1, you can't get the CRB, you're still making all your money, but given your situation, you could get the other 2 benefits. The second category is for people who still have a job, but are now working reduced hours. These people could be eligible for the base CRB. One of the deciding factors is whether or not you're working 50% less and making 50% less than last year or the previous 12 months. There are some intricacies on how this is calculated, so check out this video where I dive deep on how exactly to find out if this is you. On top of the 50% reduction of pay, the other thing that people in this category mostly need to worry about is whether or not they're making above the $38,000 cap in their income that is the sort of soft cap that has been put in place for these CRB benefits. If you make more than the cap, you don't have to pay all the CRB back right away, but you will have to pay some back. To find out how much that is for you, check out this video right here where I talk about how to calculate how much of the CRB you're going to have to pay back based on your income from this year. That brings us to section 3. This is the group of people who have either quit their job or have been let go in the past little while. Luckily, the CRB and the related benefits are a lot more lenient with this sort of qualification. If you were let go from your job and you didn't have a say in it, then you could likely qualify for CRB if you meet the other requirements. The main criteria that you're going to need to think about is whether or not you're making 50% less than last year or the past 12 months, just like category number 2. But also, you're going to need to show that you're currently looking for work. The Canadian government's basically saying, like, yes, we'll give you money if you've been fired from your job, but you've got to try to get back out there. You can't just take some time off. But on the other hand, if you voluntarily quit your job, things are a little bit different. You'll remember for the CERB, if you quit your job at any time, you're just flat out not eligible. But for the CRB, you're only disqualified from applying if you quit your job after September 27th, 2020. If you quit your job or reduced your hours voluntarily before September 27th, 2020, then you could still apply for CRB provided you meet all the other criteria. This opens it up to so many more people because it's not really fair if you quit your job before you knew what the rules were going to be. That's what happened to a lot of people with CERB, right? They quit their job maybe in February not knowing that there would be a huge change in the world, and as a result, they were kind of screwed. But the criteria for these benefits were made available to the public on September 27th. So if you quit your job after September 27th, the CRA can basically say like, hey, we put the criteria out and you still quit. That's on you, buddy. Whether this is the right way to handle it or the wrong way to handle it remains to be seen. But you have to admit that it is a lot more lenient than CERB. If you quit your job before September 27th and are potentially eligible, the other criteria you're going to have to worry about is that you need to be consistently looking for work and you can't turn down reasonable work. In other videos, I've talked about how this reasonable work is not very well defined, but I would recommend keeping a record of what you've applied for. Maybe take screenshots of what you're applying for on Indeed or Job Bank, which is Canada's national job employment website. Just make sure that you cross your T's, dot your I's, just in case the CRA comes back and says, hey, you need to prove that you actually were eligible because we want our money back. I don't want to see you guys in that position, so that's why I'm advocating for you to keep all of these records as much as you possibly can. Since the deadline for quitting your job is on September 27th, at this point I can 100% say do not quit your job to try to get CRB. At this point, if you quit your job, you're going to be 100% not eligible. Even if you're in the crummy situation where your job is paying you far less than CRB, but you still don't qualify for it with the 50% income difference, it's a tough situation and I'm sorry you're in it, but you can't quit in order to try to get the full CRB amount. If you do and you click the button to get your money, you might get the money initially, but you're going to have to pay it back. And if you know for a fact that you don't qualify and you click it, there could be major financial penalties and even potentially criminal penalties based on what the CRA website is saying. So I'll say it again. Don't quit your job to try to get CRB. The fact that you even have a job is a very good thing right now with the way the current job market is headed. Hold on to it for dear life, because when people's 6 months of eligibility for the CRB ends, there aren't going to be any other benefits for them. And when these benefit periods are entirely over come September 2021, there's no guarantee that the job market will be good, and there's no guarantee that you'll have any benefits coming your way. So while it may be hard to watch people get more money than you're getting from sitting at home applying to jobs, but you're working hard, it can be frustrating, but I think you should definitely take a step back and say, hey, I'm grateful to have this job because they could be in a pretty bad situation down the road. I'm curious what you think though. Did the government handle this change of employment correctly for either of these benefits? I'm personally of the opinion that the CERB benefits were a little bit too strict and left so many people who didn't even know about COVID and quit down and in the lurch. So which benefits guidelines were handled more effectively when it comes to a change of employments? CERB or the CRB and the related benefits? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you found any value in this video at all, hit that like button. Just one simple click of the button can send this video to hundreds and hundreds of people who might be really looking for this information. And of course, if you haven't done it already, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I'm coming every single day with new videos for you to help you understand these benefits more clearly, and as soon as there's any changes to them or any modifications, I'm going to tell you as soon as possible, and you'll be the first one to know about it from me. But with that said, that's it for me, you guys, so I'll see you next time.